Chapter 2, in which Passepartout is convinced he has finally found his ideal. "Goodness me," said Passepartout, somewhat flustered by all this. "I've seen people at Madame Tussaud's as lively as my new master." It should be said that Madame Tussaud's people are figures made of wax, much visited in London, and so lifelike that they almost might speak. During his brief interview with Phileas Fogg, Passepartout had quickly and carefully assessed his future master. He appeared to be a man of about 40, with fine, handsome features, and a tall, well-shaped figure. His hair and beard were fair, his brow unwrinkled, his face rather pale, his teeth magnificent. He seemed to possess, to the highest degree, what physiognomists call repose in action, a quality shared by all those who prefer to act rather than talk. Calm, phlegmatic, clear-eyed, with unmoving eyelids, he was the very type of those poised and collected Englishmen whose slightly academic attitude is so marvelously captured by the paintbrush of Angelica Kauffmann. In all the phases of his daily life, this gentleman had the air of one whose every part was in perfect equilibrium, as perfect as a chronometer, as Leroy or Earnshaw. Indeed, Phileas Fogg was exactitude personified, and this could be seen even in the expression of his very hands and feet, for in men, as in animals, the limbs themselves are expressive of the passions. Phileas Fogg was one of those people who, mathematically exact, unrushed, and always prepared, economize their every step and movement. He never took one step too many, going always by the shortest route. His gaze never wandered, nor would he permit a superfluous gesture. He was never seen to be agitated or moved. He never hurried, but he always arrived on time. It is because of this that he lived alone, and, so to speak, outside the course of normal social relations. He knew that, in society, one must rub elbows with people, but rubbing elbows causes friction, and since friction slows the mechanism, he chose not to rub elbows at all. As for Passepartout, he was truly a Parisian. He had spent the last 5 years in England as a valet, searching in vain for a master after his own heart. Passepartout was by no means one of the impudent frontins or masquerades depicted in the plays of Molière, with their shoulders up and their noses held in the air, and with a bold stare for everyone. No, Passepartout was an honest fellow, with an agreeable physiognomy. His lips were slightly protruding, as if to taste or to caress. His very being was sweet and serviceable, and he had one of those fine round heads that one likes to find on the shoulders of a friend. He had blue eyes, a ruddy complexion, and a face just plump enough for him to see the edges of his own cheeks. He had a broad chest and a strong, vigorously muscled frame, and the exercises of his youth had imbued him with Herculean strength. His brown hair was a bit unruly, although the sculptors of antiquity had 18 different ways of arranging Minerva's coiffure. Passepartout knew only one way to manage his own. It was done with 3 quick strokes of a large-toothed comb. It would be imprudent at this stage to say whether Passepartout's lively nature would agree with Phileas Fogg. Would he turn out to be the perfectly methodical servant that his master required? Only time could tell. Having had, as we saw, a hectic and unsettled youth, Passepartout now longed for repose. And despite all he had heard about the frigid and phlegmatic English gentleman, England had so far disappointed him. He had served in 10 different households without being able to take root. To his great dismay, he found each of his masters to be whimsical and irregular, constantly running around the country or on the lookout for adventures. His most recent master, the young Lord Longsferry, Member of Parliament, having spent his nights in the oyster-houses of Haymarket, would return home all too frequently on the shoulders of policemen. Passepartout wanted above all to respect the gentleman he served, and he therefore ventured a few mild observations on this conduct. These were poorly received, and he took his leave. Then, learning that Phileas Fogg was looking for a servant, he made inquiries about the gentleman. A master with such a routine existence, who never traveled or slept away from home, and who never absented himself for even a day, could not fail to please him. He presented himself immediately, and was accepted. At 11:30, Passepartout found himself alone in the house on Saville Row. He promptly began its inspection, examining every corner from the cellar to the attic. The house pleased him. It was clean, tidy, solemn, and well organized. It reminded him of an elegant snail's shell, but one lighted and warmed by gas, for indeed carbureted hydrogen, or methane, met all of the house's requirements in these respects. On the second floor, Passepartout recognized at once the room that was to be his. It suited him perfectly. Here, electric bells and speaking tubes provided a connection with the rooms on the first and the ground floor. On the mantelpiece stood an electric clock that was synchronized with the clock in Phileas Fogg's bedroom. Each instrument beat the same second, at the same instant. "Well, this is just fine," said Passepartout to himself. He also found in his room a card fixed above the clock. It was the program of his daily duties. It listed all that would be required of him, from 8 o'clock in the morning, when Phileas Fogg invariably rose, to 11:30 when he left the house to lunch at the Reform Club. Every one of his responsibilities was set out. The tea and the toast of 8:23, the shaving water of 9:37, the coiffing of 10:20, and so it continued. From 11:30 to midnight, the hour at which the methodical gentleman retired, everything was regulated and foreseen. Passepartout happily reviewed the document, committing each detail to memory. As for Monsieur's wardrobe, it was well supplied, and in the best taste. Each pair of trousers, each suit and waistcoat, was numbered and listed in a registry, stating on what date, according to the season, each garment should in turn be worn. The same system was applied to the master's shoes. In short, the house on Saville Row, which must have been a temple of disorder in the time of the illustrious but dissipated Sheridan, everything was laid out for ease and comfort. There was no library nor any books. These would have been of little use to Mr. Fogg, since he had 2 libraries at his disposal at the Reform Club, one devoted to literature, the other to law and politics. In the bedroom stood a safe of medium size, whose construction could resist fire as well as theft. There were no weapons in the house, no implements of war or of the hunt, and every detail indicated a life of tranquillity and of peaceable habits. As he completed his detailed examination of the house, Passepartout broke into a broad smile. He rubbed his hands together and exclaimed, "This is just what I'd hoped for. We shall get on perfectly, Mr. Fogg and I. What a domestic and a regular gentleman. A veritable machine. Well, I don't mind serving a machine."